What is going on, guys? This is Garrett and Lincoln coming at you live from New York. It's RUNAMUCK MMA.
Saturday night.
Yeah. And we are bringing to you guys our coverage on the
Fight night
card that took place this past Saturday. Wow, look at this, guys. We're doing ninth corner of the Octagon on a Sunday. Holy shit.
Oh my God, we're actually doing it. We're actually doing it.
That's right. So right off the bat, I just guess I wanted to express that this was not, if this is your first introduction to MMA, I'm sorry. Give us another chance.
We'll try to make it as exciting as we can because it wasn't a very exciting card.
Nah,
it had its moments.
It had moments for sure, and I know we're gonna start with one of those moments, but there was plenty. I mean, obviously there's tons of technique and tons of skill that was taking place, but I gotta say I usually judge how exciting a card is by my level of awakeness that I have, because I guarantee you there were so many times where I was nodding off and like falling asleep, especially during the main event.
These fighters these days, they can't get no respect, you know.
No, but it just happens. But we'll go ahead and we'll get right into it with the first fight of the night on the prelims, which actually started out really promising. Lincoln, why don't you take it away for us here?
Well, Luigi for the win. That's what I'm gonna go ahead and say, because when the prelims started and Luigi came out with a 1 minute 20-second KO of this man Jensen Arian, I thought this night was gonna be amazing. I thought we're off to a great start.
Yeah,
comes in, he's just hitting him with the combos, hits a leg, hits a roundhouse, hits him right on the neck, which that's the spot you want to hit. He starts stumbling, and perfectly he just puts the knee on belly and just starts raining hammer fists. Referee calls it. It was amazing. I was so amped, and then from there on out, I was kind of sleepy.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said it hit it right on the head there. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh well, here's another night of prelims that just completely kick ass and are amazing.
The prelims that just won't stop, and then they stopped.
And I'll say, I'll admit there's some fault on my part as a viewer. We get spoiled by a lot of
We get spoiled.
Stuff. We get really spoiled by a lot
especially the last card.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's usually just so much good stuff going on all the time in the UFC that sometimes when things take a dive, we get a little grumpy.
We sound a little casual right now. Let's get some excitement going.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's not to say that any of these fights were necessarily boring or bad or anything like that. Casey Kenny, versus Haile Alatin. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing.
Body shots in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great fight. This is great. Casey Kenny came out, and there was actually plenty of times where I was surprised Haile didn't go down.
Yeah,
and that's another story of the night. Is usually the only reason these fights went the distance is because the other person taking the abuse just refused to go down. That's commendable.
It is commendable, and that is actually what MMA is about. It's not about your victories. It's about how much damage you can take and keep on coming, as Rocky would say.
Exactly. And Casey Kenny really just came out and had a all-star performance. Honestly, if you ask me, I couldn't ask for much more there from the guy. Excuse me. And then even the fight immediately after that, following that, Luma, excuse me, this is Thailand.
Looking boomy.
Luke, I think, something like that. Luke Boom versus Fry. I'm sorry. I'm out of practice in my name pronunciations.
It was just that you tried and then went, Fry.
Yeah. And, Luma, she put on a clinic herself, I mean, it was competitive all the way throughout, but I mean, that tie, those knees, those elbows in the clinch, Really
High clinch is a killer.
yeah, I mean, just really out professionalized her here. I mean, it was pretty great. God, excuse me, I'm making up my own words here. It's how I attempt to sound like I know what I'm talking
Professional.
about.
Hey,
Yeah,
this is a professional podcast. I don't know if you've signed on yet or not.
exactly. Yeah. Shit, we don't even do podcasts anymore.
No, no, we
But
don't. We'll get there. We'll get
we'll
there.
get there again. But anyway, yeah. So moving on, we had Jordan Williams, Contender Series alumni. He was the person on the last Contender Series episode. Give me my contract. Yeah, I could see you really wanted to do that. So
I really wanted to do it.
I just let myself quiet down. Gave you your moment.
Thank you, bud. A little bit disappointing after the climb to the top. He had to compete on the Contender Series 3 times with, as we had covered, his third one where he did win by TKO/KO. Screaming, "Give me my contract!" Comes out how many, like 2 weeks after?
Close to.
Just about.
Yeah, it was at the end of September.
Yeah. So wake me up when September ends. But he comes out and he put on a pretty decent performance. But
he showed a lot of
just
heart.
he showed a lot of heart, and that's really what the UFC needs right now is a lot of heart. But Imavov just came out to dominate that night.
Yeah, and speaking of Imavov, he was actually passed up for an appearance on the Contender Series for Jordan Williams in that last outing Jordan Williams had. So you can almost say that Imavov was coming for some form of revenge, almost coming to showcase
redemption almost.
Yeah, how much more he deserved to be in the UFC than Williams, at least for him, I would assume. And I would say that the first round was definitely more competitive. Jordan Williams definitely had more significant strikes. I remember that stat. But then it almost seemed like by the second round, Jordan Williams just had very little left to give. And Imavov just kind of took advantage of that. And earlier I was talking about Haile, the Mongolian Knight, just refusing to go down. Jordan Williams showed so much durability and heart that he just took every shot and kept coming forward. But unfortunately, Imavov was just too fast. He was moving out of the way of those big winged hands.
He just had a better gas tank.
Yeah, and that's most of the time. That's just what it comes down to. And we know Jordan Williams is I believe he's type 2 diabetic. One of the two. I'm pretty sure it is type 2. But I mean, you gotta wonder how much that factors in. I mean, his doctors told him not to compete in mixed martial arts, but he did it anyway. And he's skilled for sure. But I mean, definitely saw some major holes in his game Saturday night.
And then along with flying to Abu Dhabi to fight, and then all the testing, I'm sure all these factors have to be accounted for. But Jordan Williams came to fight, and though he lost, he really took out everything with a smile almost.
Yeah. And then we moved on to a somewhat interesting, maybe slightly controversial, depending on how you look at it, draw, actually. This is actually, God, it almost seemed like back-to-back draws with these weeks here. Cowboy Cerrone, Nico Price had their majority split decision. And then you have Charles Air Jourdain versus Josh Culibao. And these two went the distance, and we got a draw.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about this one.
Yeah. This was. I mean, Culibao definitely, in my opinion, he won those first 2 rounds.
I wasn't sure if that was controversial or not to say, but that's how I felt, which is why I was very confused when it was a draw. But I get judges got to get one every card now, I guess.
I guess so.
I don't know how I feel about this.
I mean, if you want to say,
I feel like Josh won.
I feel like Josh won too. He definitely won. I mean, he broke or busted, I should say, Jourdain's nose in round number 1. Dropped him a few times. I guess when it came to the ground game, Jourdain was more on top. He got in. There was a few sub attempts from both guys. Jourdain had a really good one at the end of round 1. Round 2 just seemed all Culibao, with, I guess, Jourdain being somewhat flashy with his flying kicks, his flying knees. But I guess if you want to play devil's advocate, you could argue Charles Jourdain really stole the show in round number 3. He really finished that round in a very dominating way, honestly. I mean, he put up a fight I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Almost getting that triangle choke armbar. I mean, that was pretty tight. That was almost secured, and he just finished the round really strong. He came out the fresher fighter in round number 3, and I assume to the judges, even to myself, that's impressive because it makes you ask the question: if the fight were to continue, how
Yeah, if
would
it was
this
a
have
5
gone?
round fight.
Exactly. Would Jourdain ended up besting Kulabau? But I guess they had to look at it in a way of Kulabau definitely won round number 1, probably won round number 2, lost round number 3. Charles Jourdain won round number 3, and maybe if you were high or something, could say he won round number 2. I don't know what to tell you.
I think they just looked at him and went, "This guy looks kind of like CM Punk. Maybe we should give him a draw."
Who knows? I mean, it's one of those things where I actually have thought to myself, how much does the reputation of a fighter factor into the decision making? But I don't know.
Couldn't tell you, bud.
It's one of those things where it's like, can you really be mad about a draw though? Nobody won, nobody lost. They both put up a good performance to the point where it seems
Not really.
like
It's just awkward sometimes.
it is, especially when it feels somewhat undeserving. But great fight all around. The guys did great. And then we finish out the prelims and this episode as well with Carlos Condit versus Court McGee. With Carlos,
Man, he dropped him at the end of that one round.
yeah,
He
I mean,
busted that nose bad.
Oof.
Carlos Condit, the natural born killers, ladies and gentlemen.
Finally moving back into the win column of after roughly 4 years of just taking losses.
It's really sad because he was on the up and up. He had a war with Robbie Lawler. I always thought he was gonna be one of those guys that was just around forever. And then he just had that drought almost.
Yeah.
Because like GSP's one of GSP's proudest moments that he said himself is getting dropped by Carlos Condit's head kick and surviving.
Yeah.
Which one of the most beautiful head kicks ever. I just don't know what happened.
I guess it just kind of seems like maybe he lost. According to him, he lost some of that fighting spirit. Maybe he's found it again, and that's why he's decided to come back after almost 2 years of absence. I believe his last fight was in 2018 versus Michael Chiesa. Submission loss to Chiesa, and his last title fight was, like you said, against Robbie Lawler, fight of the night. Earner right there. I mean, that was an absolute barn burner.
It's like a fight of the year almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's just more credit to the legacy of Condit and Lawler as a whole. But yeah, it's pretty impressive to think that Carlos Condit has had 5 losses back to back to back and is now finally back in the win column. And honestly, I mean, this was the perfect fight for him stylistically, and going up against a guy like Court McGee, who's built, just like a sturdy bull, and Carlos Condit really being able to use his unorthodox style of switching stances, that striking, those spin kicks. I mean, really doing a number on Court McGee. And Court McGee obviously kept it competitive the entire time.
He really did. And it was interesting because the knocked-out was almost identical to whenever he knocked out Dan Hardy. And it was just like almost identical. And Dan Hardy being on the broadcast team was like, "Ooh, that looks familiar."
Yeah. Dan Hardy, always a great sport when it comes to his past fights. Sport. But yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between Carlos Condit and Dan Hardy since he was talking about coming back.
Hey, I would love to see it too.
It might be the time.
Yeah,
might be the time. I'm calling it here first.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos Condit, at this point in his career, I was even thinking maybe, I mean, if we were lucky, a rematch with Nick Diaz, since Nick Diaz is looking to come back. Carlos Condit is now back on the scene.
That might be the fight to make right there.
Yeah.
Either one of those. Dan Hardy coming back to fight Carlos Condit. Maybe that's Carlos Condit's last 2 fights.
Hey, that'd be great.
He has a rematch with Dan Hardy and then a rematch with Nick Diaz or vice versa.
Well, we'll just need to see, because the man's gone a long way from fighting for the welterweight title to now headlining the prelims.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but If he pulls together a string of victories here, he might start main eventing a fight night here in the next little bit.
See it.
Yeah,
I could see him breaking the top 10 again, but that's about as far as I think it'll go.
we just need to see him evolve as a fighter more, because if there's one thing, I mean, he was talking about leg kicks and how the leg kicks have become a more dominant technique in modern MMA.
They really have.
And if there's one thing I noticed with him is that he has started to get really, really good at fighting in the southpaw stance that he is not traditionally trained in. He's not. That's not his traditional art form.
No, but he's always been able to switch stances a lot and work in either way. But now he is more dominantly using southpaw to kind of confuse people.
Yeah, I think what he's doing is it's kind of one of those. If I was going to take anything from anywhere, I'd say it's a lot like in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh no!
Where Carlos Condit is giving himself a disadvantage early on by basically he's wearing weighted clothing. And he's giving himself the disadvantage early on and getting good with the disadvantage and actually being competitive with the disadvantage, that by the time someone like Court McGee starts actually giving him competition, he takes off the weighted clothing.
All right, so I got a better analogy than that, because I bet you could touch your toes with a stretch like that. You know?
Wow.
I think a better analogy would have been, it's kind of like in Princess Bride, where they do fight with their left hand until halfway through. See, I got you with the references. I'm sorry.
You got me.
I'm not left-handed either. Bum, ba-da-dum-bum.
There you are. So yeah, I mean, I kind of noticed that. I noticed Carlos Condit was trying to bring something special to the fight, whether or not that was it. And he
very impressive either way.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for me. So anyway, that is going to do it for this episode of Ninth Corner of the Octagon UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi 4. Make sure you guys check out the next episode where we talk about the main card, and we will hopefully see you guys there. Peace. Ba-da-ba-ba.